Does a fan really cool you down, or is it just an illusion? What do you think? Have people been fooled their whole lives by the fan industry, which sells millions of reais worth of fans in furniture stores across Brazil? And in the end, is it just blowing more hot air on us, while we only have the psychological feeling that we're cooling down? Okay? We're going to do several experiments, including using a thermal camera to prove, once and for all, well, actually, we're not sure about the result yet. So let's see. To start with, the fan itself just moves the air around. It doesn't cool like an air conditioner, you know. So theoretically, if it's hot, yes, it's going to blow even more heat on you. But does the air it's blowing actually make things colder? I'm going to get 2 cups. They're aluminum cups, okay? I painted them black because it's really hard to see aluminum on the thermal camera. It reflects. So we can't actually see what's happening. But with black, it's all good. And I'm going to pour cold water, which we just took out of the fridge, into the cups to make them really cold. And then I'm going to put them in front of the fan to see what effect the fan has on the cold cup. The water is really nice. It's about 11 degrees. So I pour it. This cup here won't get any wind, and this one will. We turn on the fan and let's see what happens. Man. Bye! The cup in front of the fan is heating up much faster. It's already almost at 20 degrees, and the other one is at 17. Here in the image, it's very clear. One cup is much darker than the other. The cup on the right, the cup that's on the bottom, you can see that it's a very dark blue, and the cup on top is a light blue. Look, 21 to 18, 22, 19. The cup that's in front of the fan heated up. So we just proved that the fan heats things up. But what if we test with a hot cup instead of a cold one? Let's try it here with warm water. Both cups are at 40 degrees. There's just a difference of tenths. Let's see what happens. In seconds, the top cup cooled down. Look at that. The top cup is at 30 degrees, and the bottom one is at 36. Man, the image is completely different. Look, one is red, and the other is yellow. Let me remove these points here that are getting in the way. It's very clear, look. The difference between the 2 cups is striking. The top cup is already almost at room temperature, 25 degrees. The bottom cup is at 32. So the fan cools. In the first experiment, it heated up, and in the second experiment, it cooled down. What a great conclusion, right? So let's do this. We're going to wait a bit and bring both cups to room temperature. Both cups are here. They're practically identical, okay? They're at room temperature. Let's set it here at 24 degrees exactly. I'm not even going to touch the right cup, so my hand doesn't influence it. Wherever I touch the cup, it gets warmer, but that's okay. It won't make much difference. And now we turn on the fan to settle this question once and for all. It's been about 5 minutes. The temperature of the cups is practically identical. The difference is just tenths of a degree, which we can't even consider. It didn't make any difference at all. So now what? The fan, it moves air around, it pushes, it blows the air in the room. So this air is at room temperature, at the temperature of the environment. So when you put something hot in front of the fan, you're going to make that hot thing reach room temperature. The hot thing cools down. If you put something cold, on the other hand, that cold thing will reach room temperature. In general, the cold thing warms up, and if you put something at room temperature, doesn't make any difference. That's what we just saw with the glasses. Looking at this, we might think, well, actually, the fan doesn't make much of a difference, right? Because if the day is hot, I don't want air at room temperature blowing on me. Yes, but I need to tell you something important. You're not a glass. So, it might make some difference. Our body has some mechanisms to cool itself down. It has a kind of natural air conditioning, which is sweat. When you're really hot, your body starts releasing water through your pores. You get wet, completely soaked. What's the point of that? This water that we release through our skin, as it evaporates, takes heat from your body. It cools you down in order to evaporate. So, it's taking your energy to go from a liquid state to a gaseous state. It's similar to what happens inside a refrigerator or an air conditioner. There too, there's a fluid that evaporates, and when it evaporates, it cools things down. This cooling effect from evaporation happens all the time in our lives. For example, when you're in a swimming pool, the water is at a nice, comfortable temperature. It's not cold outside the pool either, but the moment you get out of the water, you feel cold, you feel really chilly. This occurs as water on your body evaporates. If you're dry and without clothes outside the pool, you don't feel that cold. So would this experience be very different if we did it with something wet, where the water is evaporating? Could the wind help it evaporate faster and make it even colder? This cup isn't suitable for our test because it doesn't get wet or absorb water. Let's use a piece of cloth instead. Both cloths are at about 23 degrees, right? Let's turn on the fan and hope the cloth doesn't fly away, so it doesn't ruin our experiment. Ha ha! Right away, the top cloth turned dark blue, see? The top cloth, 19 degrees, the bottom cloth, 22 degrees. The difference is bizarre. It's really cool to see this happening right in front of us. It's crazy. Physically, why does this happen, right? What's the logic behind the wind blowing and making the water evaporate faster? Here, it's a layer of water, okay? When the wind blows over here, the first thing that happens is that it will pull some water molecules away from here. Purely mechanically. It's like it's sanding the water. And that will make the water start evaporating a little. But there's still a second effect. If there's no wind, the water will evaporate too. It will evaporate because some molecules escape, and this forms a thin layer of vapor here, above the water. This thin layer of vapor, it actually hinders the evaporation of the water itself, because evaporation is easier when the air is drier. And if the air is already full of vapor, it's not dry, it's humid. So this humidity that forms above the water hinders evaporation. When the wind blows, it sweeps this away. It carries away the vapor, so it makes the air dry again, and that makes evaporation easier once more. I'll test this on my skin soon. There's another factor with the human body. I'll wipe off the water since the body doesn't have that much. The same thing will happen on my arm. So the wind takes away the thin layer of vapor. It makes evaporation easier. It also physically removes a bit of the water. But there's still one more thing. As my arm stays still in the air, it forms a warm layer around it. Usually, my arm will be warmer than the environment, so the air around it also gets warmer. Little by little, it rises. But in general, if we could see it with a magic machine, which is not my thermal camera because it can't see the air, we would see that around the arm. There's a lot of air that's heating up. It's like you form a blanket of warm air around you. If you're feeling hot, it's bad, right? And then our friend, the wind, comes and takes away that little layer of warm air that's on top. So it makes it easier to exchange heat with the environment. It won't let that bubble of warm air form around you. So in the end, we'll have three factors. The fan removes the water molecules. It reduces the humidity on your skin. And these two factors here will help your sweat evaporate and cool your skin. And there's still the third factor, which is that it removes the layer of warm air. And this is the secret for the fan to actually cool your skin and not the glass. Will it make a difference if we actually do the experiment? Now we're gonna need some help. Daniel, come here, please. You already know Daniel from the elbow licking thing here. I'm gonna ask you to record for me. Let's pretend that I'm super sweaty. Are both my arms at the same temperature?
The left one is 30.2, the right one is 30.
The same, right? Now, hold on.
There's a difference, huh?
Is it showing? Look, 29.8 and 25.9, 3 degrees difference.
There's a blue spot here on your right arm. Wow, cool, huh?
We'd never done this experiment before.
Right, 29.5 and 25. 4.5 degrees.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, it's really freezing. My right arm is much colder.
That's the difference. 6 degrees, you can see the blue spot on your right arm.
Proven.
That's the remaining difference, man.
It's absurd. It's absurd. Wow. No, it has nothing to do with it. One thing has nothing to do with the other.
Funny thing is, the biggest temperature difference wasn't in the glass or the cloth. It was on your arm.
It was in my arm. That's true. The biggest difference happened to me. We discussed a lot here. And maybe there's a situation where the fan doesn't work very well. If you're in an extremely hot and extremely humid place, like in Manaus at 40 degrees, it will be able to pull the water molecules off, and that keeps happening. But then the fan can't really lower the humidity much because the environment is humid, so it can't remove that layer of moisture that stays on your arm. because it just blows more humid air on top. And also, it can't remove the layer of hot air because the environment is even hotter than you are. So, there's no hot layer forming around you. The whole environment is hot. In this case, you're really out of luck. But finally, answering the question from the beginning, the fan doesn't work like an air conditioner, which cools down the whole room, the walls, the couch. None of that is going to get colder. It basically won't make any difference. But on your skin, it will. It will make a big difference, as we just saw. That's really cool. But it's also a problem if you only have one fan and several people in the room. The fan will only make a difference when it hits your skin. So if it's not facing you, it won't make any difference at all. The best way to share a fan is to put it in that mode where it goes back and forth, so you can get a little bit of wind on you. And then the microphone is over there on Chansey, sulking with a grumpy face. And then it hits Chansey too, who's also dying from the heat. If you're watching this video and feeling hot, the best tip I have is to build something under your roof. We taught how to make a kind of heat reflector using Tetra Pak cartons, like milk cartons, and this works really well to reduce the heat that reaches you. If you have a house with no protection under the roof, it's worth thinking about making this at home. It costs almost nothing, and we showed you how to do it here on Manual do Mundo. Just watch it.